The email landed in David Miller's inbox like a lead weight. Subject: Urgent Review from Diner Disaster 24/7. David, CEO of Miller's Diners, a chain his grandmother had built from a single beloved eatery, clicked it open with a sigh. It was worse than usual. This isn't a diner, it's a disaster zone. Food was cold, tables sticky, and the server acted like I was interrupting her TikTok session. Miller's Diner used to be a family staple. Now it's an embarrassment. Grandma Rose would be spinning in her grave. David pushed away from his polished mahogany desk, the words echoing in his mind. Grandma Rose would be spinning in her grave. That stung. He'd been so consumed by expansion deals, supplier contracts, and quarterly reports that the heart of the business, the individual diners, had become abstract data points. He hadn't set foot in store number 4 in over a year. His district manager, Tom, had dismissed recent complaints as isolated incidents, but this review felt different. This was personal. He drove his rental car across town, adjusting his baseball cap and pulling his hoodie tighter. He'd grown out his beard, donned prescription glasses, and dressed like any other tired college student. No one at this particular location had ever met him. As he pushed through the glass door, the stale smell of burnt grease and lukewarm coffee hit him. The classic rock station was blasting too loud for 8 a.m., and a sticky film coated the counter where customers ordered. He slid into line behind a young mother wrestling a stroller and a fussy toddler. Behind the counter, a server with bright pink hair and a bored expression scrolled on her phone, which was propped against the espresso machine. She barely glanced up. "Next," she drawled, not making eye contact. The mother fumbled for her wallet, and the server rolled her eyes so dramatically David could see it from the back of the line. When it was his turn, David stepped up. "Just a large black coffee, please." She tapped the screen, held out a hand for payment, and then turned to brew it without a word. He paid cash and retreated to a secluded booth near the staff hallway. The coffee was lukewarm, as expected. He took a sip, then pretended to scroll on his phone, listening. He heard them then, 2 voices from the hallway, just out of sight. "Seriously, if one more person asks for extra crispy fries, I'm gonna accidentally drop their plate," a female voice, the pink-haired server, muttered. A male voice, deep and cynical, chuckled. "You should have seen the old guy yesterday. Complained his omelet was too fluffy." I told him, "Sir, this ain't no IHOP. This is art." Both laughed. David froze, his blood running cold. "I don't even care anymore," the girl continued. "This place is a joke. Management's useless. We're so understaffed, they'll never fire us. We basically run the joint." David's jaw tightened. "I told Tom the new kid's a waste of time," the male voice added, slow as molasses. "Said we should just cut her shifts. She'll get the hint." David's stomach clenched. A new kid? And Tom was letting these 2 dictate staffing? He stood, coffee in hand, and walked toward the counter just as the 2 servers emerged. The male, tall with a sneer that vanished when he saw David staring, stammered, "Hey, can I help you?" David didn't reply. He simply turned and walked out, the lukewarm coffee forgotten. Back in his car, he slammed his fist on the steering wheel. He'd been so focused on the empire, he'd let the foundation crumble. His grandmother's words echoed, "Trust is built from the counter up, not the office down." He pulled out his phone. "Lisa," he said when his assistant answered, "I need a full employee list for Store 4, their schedules, and find out when the newest hire is working next. Everything okay?" "No," David said, his voice tight. "But it's about to be." The next morning, David stood outside the back entrance of the diner, leaning against the brick wall. The sun was just peeking over the rooftops, casting long shadows. He'd been there since 5:45 a.m. waiting. Lisa's intel confirmed the new hire, Emily, was opening with Mark, the male server, and Sarah, pink hair. He hadn't slept, haunted by their callous laughter. A beat-up sedan pulled into the lot. A young woman stepped out, pulling a knit hat over her ears, a canvas tote slung over her shoulder. She paused, took a deep breath, then walked toward the back door. David followed, slipping in behind her as she unlocked it. "Oh, sorry," she said, startled. "I thought I locked that." David pulled off his hood. "You did fine. I'm supposed to be shadowing today. Name's Alex." He extended a hand. She hesitated, then shook it. "Emily, first day?" She nodded, leading him through the narrow hall. "You're not late, so that's a win. Just a heads up, mornings can be a whirlwind." He followed her into the cramped back room. 2 metal lockers, a dented mini-fridge, a folding table with a half-empty box of stale donuts. Emily efficiently wrapped an apron around her waist. "You'll probably be on dish and restock," she said. "That's where they usually start people." "Got it. You like it here?" he asked, keeping his tone light. She shrugged. "It's fine. I need the hours for school." Footsteps echoed. Mark walked in, earbuds around his neck, chewing gum. "You're early," he grunted at Emily, not looking at her. He noticed David. "Who's this?" "New hire," Emily replied. Mark looked David up and down. "They keep sending us people. Not sure why. We're full." David kept his expression neutral. "Just doing what I'm told." Mark grabbed an apron. "Emily, you're on register. Alex, you're on dish. Don't get in the way." He didn't wait for a reply. David leaned toward Emily. "He always like that?" She gave a tight, polite smile. "Mostly. Just keep your head down." They stepped onto the main floor. The diner was still dark, but pre-opening tasks were underway. Sarah was already there, fiddling with the coffee machine. "Morning," Emily offered. Sarah ignored her, adjusting the grind setting, then walking off. David moved to the dish station, rinsing pitchers caked with old milk. The sink area was a mess, cleaning supplies shoved into a cracked bin, the drain board tilting precariously. Emily moved with quiet efficiency, checking the pastry case, aligning cups. Mark barked orders. Sarah drifted between tasks, rarely looking up. By 7:15, the first customers trickled in. David kept his head down, watching. The morning rush built fast, and so did the tension. "I said no onions," a woman snapped at the counter. Emily apologized, trying to fix the order. Before she could, Mark snatched the plate and scraped it into the trash. "Do it again," he told her. Then to the customer. "Sorry, she's still learning." The customer shot Emily an irritated glance. Emily remade the order, her hands trembling. David caught her eye. "You were fine," he murmured. She gave a small nod. By 8, the diner was packed. Mobile orders flooded in. Sarah started cutting corners. No lids on drinks, underfilled milkshakes, wrong orders. "This isn't a veggie omelet," a man said at the pickup counter. "It is," Sarah replied, not looking up. "It's mostly egg. That's what a veggie omelet is." The man raised an eyebrow. "I don't make the rules," Sarah said, turning away. David watched the man leave, shaking his head. Mark glanced over. "Next time, tell him it's a deconstructed omelet. They won't know the difference." Sarah laughed. Emily didn't. David stepped away from the sink and approached Emily at the register. "You need a second?" She wiped her hands on her apron. "No, I'm good." "You sure? Your hands are shaking." She paused. "I'm just trying not to screw up. I need this job." David lowered his voice. "You're not the problem here." Emily looked at him. "You don't know them yet." Before he could respond, Mark called from the grill. "Alex, can you do something useful and dump the mop bucket? It's full." David glanced back. "Where's the mop sink?" Mark didn't answer. Sarah waved a hand. "Just pour it out by the dumpster." "We don't have a mop sink." David hesitated. "That's not health code." Mark turned. "You planning to report us, new guy?" David didn't reply. He grabbed the bucket and headed out, passing Emily as she handed off an order with a quiet, "Thank you," behind the building. He carefully tipped the foul-smelling water into a patch of gravel near the dumpster. He saw 3 other dark, sticky stains on the concrete. When he came back in, Mark was on his phone, Sarah was texting while restocking napkins, and Emily was struggling with a complicated order, apologizing for the wait. David returned to the dish station, scrubbing a plate harder than necessary. He'd seen enough. The apathy, the shortcuts, the way Emily was being slowly crushed, it was systemic. This was rot, and it had taken hold under his watch. He glanced at Emily, shoulders hunched, wiping the counter. He dried his hands, walked into the back room, and pulled out his phone. "Lisa," he said when she answered, "I need the regional manager here by tonight. We're shutting this place down for a full staff reset and retraining, and I want to meet Emily off-site, somewhere quiet." "Everything okay?" Lisa asked. David looked around the cramped break room, the flickering light, the smell of burnt toast. "Not even close," he said, "but we're going to fix it." Emily stepped into the quiet library side entrance just after 7 p.m., her backpack slung low, her coat clutched like armor. She saw the man who called himself Alex waiting near a window, seated at a table with 2 paper cups and a plain manila folder. He stood when he saw her. "Hey," she said, cautious. "You wanted to talk?" David nodded. "Thanks for coming. Sit down." She hesitated, then pulled out a chair. The library was almost empty. He pushed a cup toward her. Chamomile. Seemed like a safe bet. She wrapped her hands around the warm cup. "Thanks. So, what is this?" David met her eyes. "My name's not Alex. It's David Miller. I own the diner you've been working at." She blinked. "Wait, what?" "I went undercover," he explained. "That location has been struggling for months, and I couldn't get a straight answer from corporate. I needed to see it myself." Emily leaned back, eyebrows drawn together. "You're serious?" He gave her a moment to process. "I didn't mean to involve you," he said. "But after what I saw today, I couldn't ignore it." She looked back at him. "So what now? Am I in trouble?" "No," he said quickly. "Not even close. You've been holding that place together. I came here to understand what you've been dealing with, off the record, no consequences, just the truth." She stared at the table, biting her lip. "I almost quit last week," she said quietly. "But I need the paycheck. That's the only reason I'm still showing up." "What made you want to walk away?" Her grip tightened. "It's like you try to do things right, and you're still the problem. Mark told me I was replaceable on my second shift. I thought he was joking. Then Sarah started leaving me out of tasks, telling me to watch and learn while she skipped steps and blamed me when customers complained." David listened, his expression neutral. "They don't train anyone," she continued. "They just throw you into the rush and get mad when you can't keep up. And if you ask for help, they act like you're wasting their time." "How long have you been there?" 3 weeks? Her voice flat. "And it feels like a year." David nodded slowly. "Has anyone from management ever checked in?" Emily gave a bitter laugh. "Tom came in once for 10 minutes, just long enough to ask if we were settling in. Mark stood right next to me the whole time." David paused, then slid open the folder. Inside were printouts of the last 3 staffing schedules. "We're understaffed by at least 2 people for mornings," he said, "and nobody's requested additional coverage. The schedules haven't changed in over a month." Emily looked down. "That's why Sarah's doing closing and opening back to back? I thought she volunteered." "She didn't," David said. "Mark's been submitting the scheduling himself, and Tom's been approving it without checking shift logs." Emily sat back, the realization dawning. "So they're just doing whatever they want?" David closed the folder. "Not anymore." She looked at him. "What are you going to do?" "I've already called our regional manager. The diner's closing for the next 3 days. We're bringing in a temporary team to clean, restock, and retrain every employee." Emily's eyes widened. "You're shutting it down?" "It's the only way to fix this without putting a bandage over a broken bone. We'll still pay everyone scheduled, but only those who show up for retraining will be considered for rehire." Emily stared. "You're giving them a choice?" "I believe in second chances," David said, "but I don't believe in rewarding apathy. Anyone who wants to keep their job will have to earn it." She looked at her tea, then back at him. "What about me?" "You've already earned yours," he said. "We're promoting you to Shift Supervisor. Not just a title. You'll get access to scheduling, be part of store meetings, and we'll pair you with one of our senior trainers. I want your input when we rebuild the team." Her mouth opened, then she swallowed. "Why me?" "Because you care," he said plainly, "and because you didn't fold even when it would have been easier to. We need people like you if we're going to fix what's broken." Emily looked down, brushing her thumb along the cup's rim. "I don't know if I'm ready for that." "You weren't ready for what they threw at you either," David said, "but you showed up. That counts." She gave a quiet nod. "So what happens tomorrow?" "I'll meet you outside the diner at 7 a.m. We'll walk the team through what's changing. Anyone who tries to push back gets one warning. After that, they're out." Emily's jaw tightened slightly. "Mark's not going to like that." David's tone didn't change. "He doesn't have to." She let out a breath, the tension in her shoulders easing. "Okay, I'll be there." David stood, slid the folder into his bag, and picked up his coat. "Get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be a long day." As Emily gathered her things, she hesitated. Why now? Why not months ago? David looked at her. "Because I stopped listening to the floor. I let reports replace reality. That's on me." She nodded, serious. "Then I guess we both have something to prove." He gave her a respectful nod and left. That night, David sat in his hotel room, staring at the wall. He replayed every conversation, not just with Emily, but with his grandmother years earlier, sitting across from him in a booth at their original diner. Trust is built from the counter up, not the office down. Somewhere along the way, he'd forgotten that. But tomorrow, he'd start again, from the counter up. By the time the sun rose the next morning, a temporary operations crew was already wheeling in crates of cleaning supplies and replacing the warped menu boards with new ones. A printed "Closed" for internal training sign hung on the diner's front door. Several regulars paused, confused, then walked off. David leaned against the wall just inside, arms crossed, watching as Emily checked the supply list against the clipboard he'd given. Her hair was tied back tightly, and she moved with quiet purpose. She didn't ask unnecessary questions. She didn't stall. She just worked. Emily turned to him. "The dairy delivery came in late. We're missing milk, but I flagged it with the tempi." "Lead." David nodded. "We'll reroute stock from the Midtown store. Are you good to help walk the others through protocol?" She hesitated. "Depends who shows up." At precisely 7:30, Sarah stepped through the front door. She stopped short when she saw the work crew wiping down walls and reorganizing station drawers. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. Then she spotted David, now in a charcoal blazer, his beard trimmed, glasses gone. Emily looked over from the register, saying nothing. David stepped forward. "Yes, you're Sarah, right?" She blinked twice, then nodded. "Yeah, I didn't know. Nobody said anything." "No one was supposed to." "We're changing that," he said. "You're still on the payroll, but this is a clean slate. If you want to be part of the new team, you'll need to go through retraining like everyone else." Her eyes flicked around the store. "So you're firing people?" "We're offering a chance to stay. That's different." She shifted her weight. "And if we don't want to? You can leave, no hard feelings. But if you stay, things will be done right. No exceptions." She didn't respond. Instead, walking to the back slowly, as if trying to figure out if this was real, Mark arrived 15 minutes later, wearing the same ratty hoodie. He paused outside, watching the activity. When he finally walked in, he didn't look at David. His eyes went straight to Emily. "What is this?" he asked, voice low. David stepped between them. "Training, restructuring. You're welcome to take part." Mark scoffed. "You can't just come in and—" "I can," David interrupted. "I own the company. You've been running this store without oversight for too long. That ends now." Mark looked at Emily. "You told him everything?" "I didn't have to," she said. "You did that yourself." He turned back to David. "This is ridiculous. We've been doing the best we can. You pull staff, you cut hours, and now we're the bad guys?" David didn't raise his voice. "You submitted falsified time logs, You ignored health code. You intimidated staff. That's not doing your best. That's abusing your position. Mark crossed his arms. So what, I'm fired? You're not a fit for the direction we're going. You'll be compensated for the past 2 weeks. After that, your access to company systems will be terminated. There was a pause. Mark stared, then let out a short, hollow laugh. Unbelievable. He turned and walked out without another word. David let out a slow breath. Sarah, who'd returned to the counter during the exchange, stood quietly watching. I didn't know he was doing all that, she said. I just thought he had authority. No one has authority without accountability, David replied. If you're staying, that's what we expect. She nodded, subdued. I'll stay. By 9 a.m., the rest of the remaining staff had trickled in, some embarrassed, others confused, but they listened as the new protocols were explained. Sanitation procedures, scheduling transparency, customer interaction standards. Emily led the walkthroughs with a quiet steadiness that surprised even her. David stayed off to the side, intervening only when necessary. He watched how Emily clarified questions without condescension, how she redirected Sarah when she reached for her phone, how she didn't flinch when asked why things were changing. They weren't working, she said plainly, and we deserve better than that. By late afternoon, the work crew had finished deep cleaning the kitchen. A new mop sink had been installed near the back hallway, and a rotating break schedule was posted on the staff fridge. Emily stood before it, reviewing it line by line. David joined her. Think we missed anything? She tapped one of the slots. We'll need to stagger lunch breaks tighter on weekends if we're not careful. We'll lose coverage between noon and 2. David nodded. Good catch. She glanced at him. So this is permanent? All of it? As long as it works, he said. But it's not just about rules, it's about culture. That doesn't change overnight. I know, she said, but it starts somewhere. He studied her for a moment. There was no hesitation in her voice now, no trace of the girl who had once apologized for handing off a cold coffee. You ever think about management long-term? He asked. She blinked. Are you offering? Not yet, he said, but I'm watching. At closing time, the temporary team packed up. The diner would reopen to the public the next morning with only 3 original staff members remaining, Emily, Sarah, and a part-timer named Leo, who had quietly kept his head down through the chaos and now was stepping forward for the first time. As David turned out the lights, Sarah approached him. I've been thinking, she said. I've been working in diners since I was 17. I used to like it. Then it just became about getting through the shift. He didn't say anything. I want to like it again, she continued. I don't know if I can lead, but I'll show up. That's a start, he said. Outside, the evening was quiet. David locked the door, then handed the keys to Emily. You'll open tomorrow. She took them. I've got it. He stepped back. Call me if anything feels off, and I mean anything. She nodded, then pocketed the keys. As he walked to his car, he glanced back and saw her standing at the door, looking through the glass at the space they just rebuilt together. Not with new counters or banners or slogans, but with the hard, steady rebuilding of trust. Inside, the fryers gleamed, the tables were clean, the air no longer carried the weight of exhaustion. It had taken 3 days, but the rot had been cut out, and now, finally, the diner was ready to live again.